Alright, so the last part of the project is the detail. So I've already gone ahead and placed that on the artboard and I've masked it. So very simple shapes. You've got just some hem or seam lines. You've got the zipper backing. You've got the zipper. Just think back to the zip tutorial you did a few weeks ago. So let's just go ahead and I'm just going to draw this freehand. I'm not going to trace it, but it's up to you if you want to trace it. I'm just going to copy that circle so I've got something to work with. Let's just lock that circle. So just using your pen tool, we're just going to draw this detail here. You can even use a guide, just so things are where they should be. Right, so the first part is just this semicircle detail at the top here. Right, simple. That's your first piece. So then let's create the zipper backing. So it really is just kind of like a wobbly kind of rectangle with an opening in the middle. So using a pen tool, actually go ahead and lock this piece. It sort of opens up wide like that. And it goes down there. Something like that. Again, if it's not perfect, you can go ahead or go back and adjust it later on. So then we've got the other side of the zip. I'm just going to make this one single shape. So the opening comes down to about there. And this is just created with a series of curved and straight lines. Right, so there we've got our basic zip shape, so it's closed at the bottom here, so we've kept that closed and we've opened up those two sides. So when we put the details on this later, it's going to start to look a lot more like a zip. Okay, so we've got that far. So what I'm going to do now is just use the circle as the background color. So just make sure the circle is center back. We've already got our color palette selected, so go ahead and select that. And for the zip backing, let's just choose maybe a light gray. So in your palette here, you've actually got a whole lot of different color grays. So just choose something that's suitable. I'm just going to remove that stroke. So now we've got the zip backing and we've got the color of the fabric for the background. So what I'm going to do now is to create this zip. And again, just thinking back to that first video tutorial, that's got all the details on how to make a zip. So the first part is just the rectangle right down the center, so that's going to hold the zip tag into place. In your swatches palette, you will have some gradients already set up, so you can go ahead and click on one of those. If you want to adjust the gradient a bit, you click on your gradient tool. So just double click on that, and that will bring up your gradient palette. And then you can go ahead, if you want to, just adding a bit more detail. So maybe there's a slightly darker grey there. Maybe this one's a bit more of a highlight, so double click on those little palettes. And maybe it's something like that. Okay, so with that gradient selected, we just want to save that into our swatches. So now, whatever shape we draw, we already have that on hand that we can reuse. Okay, so there's the center of the zip. So the next part is this back portion. So that's kind of a let's just lock that middle tag. The back portion kind of starts here, so it goes down a bit over here. If we zoom in here, we can just adjust that so we've got something that resembles our zip. That looks pretty good. So I actually want the gradient to go the other way. So how we can make that go the other way is by clicking once on the gradient tool and making sure the fill is selected. And you can actually drag this, and that gradient will then go in the direction that you want. So I want it somewhere about there. I'm just going to duplicate that and mirror it. Okay, so we've got the center portion and the back. Now let's just create that zipper tag in the middle. So it's made up of a few basic shapes. The first one is a rectangle. Its sides come out slightly larger at the top. So how we can achieve that is with your pen tool and the add anchor point. You can just add a couple of points at the top of that rectangle, and then you just move the top out a little bit, so that just gives you that little detail at the top. There is a darker square going through there, darker rectangle rather. I'm just going to fill that a solid black. and just bring it down to a grey. And I'm just going to adjust these so it's a bit closer to the zip. So here's a good example of possibly wanting to take your smart guides away, because when you're working on very small objects, it can sometimes get in the way. There we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this. That's going to be punched out of both sections of the zip. So I'm going to select that square. I'm going to Command C or copy it. I'm going to select that one darker square that's just behind. Let's bring up our Pathfinder and minus front. So we've actually punched a hole in that top part. Now if you go to Command F or paste in front, that's going to paste an exact copy of that square that you copied before. Select this back part of the zipper tag, and again we're just going to minus the front and then send that to back. There we have a nice little detailed zipper tag. Then we're just going to add this little part in here. That's the part that attaches it to the zip. I'm just giving it a black fill so I can see what I'm doing. Let's probably round it out there. So I actually want this curved. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. I'm just going to add a couple of anchor points. So select the square, then add an anchor point. Then select your Convert Anchor Point tool and just make that curved. And then your Direct Select tool, just select both of those ends and drag those up. And then you can go back and adjust these curves here. Yeah, and that's about right. So again, we're going to minus front from this zip and that zip back. Select both of those. Get your Pathfinder and minus front. Again, you just need to send that to the back. And there we are, there's our zipper. Let's just group those and we can put that into place. Unlock the center part and just bring that to the front there, and that looks pretty good. So select all of that and then just group it. So Object Group, or you can select it all and do a Command G. And that's our zipper. That can start going into place up there. I think that'll look quite good once we add in all the zip teeth. So the next thing is the zipper teeth. And we've already got our gradient selected. So let's go ahead and start to create some zipper teeth, just using the same gradient as the zip. And we just create that by duplicating these shapes.